Oh, hit the button. Yeah, I did. I was going to not hit it, but I decided to hit it. Somehow it happened. I reflexively hit the button. Even though I'm just not very specific in terms of subject, which, I like to have a subject for a video, a theme that I want to work through, or blah, 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 something like that. I'm just really not there at the moment. Just doing the underlying stuff, the mechanism stuff, all right, here you have this basic, if we all showed up here, and we were taken to some meeting room, and we all had to discuss or argue out, what's the idea here, what's the theme, what do we really want to accomplish with this whole adventuring life thing, I think people could take it a lot more seriously. If it was on their watch, so to speak, it was their responsibility. More explicitly their responsibility, more obviously. Because now they have the out. It's an established system. I didn't make it. So they're all pretending they don't have a responsibility for what it is or what it becomes. They're all just, cop-outs, some sort of deterministic cop-out. I couldn't help being an asshole. That would have required me to have a thought that told me I was an asshole, and I didn't want to bother with that, so yeah, I couldn't help it. That kind of bullshit. But, it's just this idea that that's really what I need to be in a place where we can have a fair argument about what's rational in terms of discussing this shit without the premise, the pre-existing condition, let's call it, of the addictive syndrome, where these people are all stuck with their, habits and their traditions. They're too caught up in baseball or whatever the thing is that they're horny for, and they can't see past that addiction. And have a rational conversation about whether, oh yeah, let's make some addicted people so they can be addicted to stupid shit and chase it in some silly manner until they die of some horrible, debilitating condition. I mean, on its face, the game is silly, stupid, moronic. You scratch it a little harder, you find, oh, it's horrific. Yeah, it's not just moronic, it's horrific. It's terrible, it's awful. It's awful, horrible things happen to people and animals, and it's just awful. And you scratch it a little further, and you find that it's just a mechanism of replication that triggered 4 billion years ago. It's a kind of reaction, uncontrollable, self-sustaining, like a radioactive reaction, and it's gone nuclear, and it's mushroomed cloud and such, and in that premise, under that view, you can kind of see that, oh sure shit, I sure as wouldn't fucking launch that missile. I wouldn't press the button to initiate that. I'd have to have some better reason to impose that torture and suffering and anguish and all that horrible screaming and such. But yeah, you can't have that serious conversation. You have to have a conversation through everybody's addictions and memes and traditions, better word. Yeah, and all you can do to get rid of that crap is mock it. I mean, frankly, I can only look through my own, how I broke my own traditions and addictions in my own life, and pretty much it's through mockery. I ridiculed myself into, humiliated myself into real recognition that, gee, that's so crass or so selfish or so small-minded or so petty or so silly. And just basically had to mock myself into wanting to be a better man, a better human. And So pretty much that's the mission statement here, I suppose, to some extent. It's very hard to break traditions any other way. These people are just so capable, so energetic with their rationalizations. I would concede that I had some of those in my earlier life. I didn't just peacefully walk into vegetarianism or anything, or giving up sports. I resisted it first, and I made my excuses to myself. That somehow it has more dignity, or these are real men. It's not a pussy sport, or some sort of bullshit. To somehow make an excuse that it's not just a silly soap opera, and that I'm not a silly idol worshiper in glorifying this useless nonsense. See, these people aren't too clever. They put up a dam here, but it blocks the water, makes the water higher, which makes everything else fail. So, they don't know their physics. Unfortunately. Stupid is as stupid does. Blah 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 blah. But it's it's good enough anyway. I got across now. Something. I have to fix it properly. The weather's supposed to get warmer this weekend, and we're supposed to start entering the summer season. So yeah, I can start doing some more stuff of interest and whatnot. If I can just maintain my, keep the thing running, keep turning the crank, so I can keep zigzagging and whatnot through the fun adventuring and such. Anyway, so this is just a piece of the thing running in my head is how to deal with all these damn bamboos are such a pain in the ass. They don't go once they're there forever. Anyway, so it's just this strategy. We're back to this strategy argument, because you can't really just have a straight up fight. You can't just walk in and say, who's bigger, who's who's got more fist space, you can't just calculate who's likely to win. You actually have to go into the stupid arena and have this stupid fight. And you can't, the thing judging victory isn't the soundness of arguments. It's going to be more about how you manipulate personalities, whether you use the right amount of force to scrape the crap off the pan and flip it. I don't know how to analogize it, but the contest has lost all of its. It's like when they did that. I remember in political campaigns, they show up for events and flip pancakes. And it's like, this is how we decide who's going to be president of the United States. Because if you fail to flip the pancake, well, you're going to be perceived as a loser. And so you're not going to win, because you didn't flip the pancake right. So you obviously can't be president because you can't flip a pancake under pressure. And so that's the test. And this is a silly test. This is just more, it's just a good example of silly tests that don't define skill or qualification, and in the case of these arguments, that don't define rightness, correctness, logical depth, the integrity of the evidence, the weight of the evidence. These are all the things that should be the only thing of importance, is what's the integrity behind the thing, what's the weight of the substance that defines it, and that should be what matters. and instead it's some other crap like charisma and whatever, ability to marshal sympathy maybe, or marshal some sense of credibility, having enough PhD in your name, or some kind of crap like, be a lord or a baron, acquire a status, and like this has to be the way the game's played. You have to turn this all into some kind of consumable food for the masses, so you can even have the conversation in sort of a public manner instead of in these back alleys of the mass media. So it's just a sad fact of the world, and it has to be dealt with as a fact. I can't just wish it away. But it does make the whole thing a little bit disquieting for me, because I personally have no interest in diagnosing everybody's psychological blind spots and explaining how, well, you made your mistake back there when you were 6 years old and you believed in Santa Claus. I mean, you might as well be, pooping your pants. You pooped your brain, and from then on it was all downhill. If that's what it requires, for people to fairly judge reality, is to first, drag them into their maturation years and explain to them where their brain went all wrong. That's why they can't see the simple truth. It's because they're so distracted by their lies and nonsense. The stuff they've made up, the delusional narratives, written by their want and hope and wish, rather than some kind of fair, thoughtful calculation of what's going on in the world, physically and chemically. But that requires some kind of work too. That's the other part of it. A lot of people's brains failed because they didn't do anything to feed them. They didn't pay much attention, and some of it requires a little bit of, you got to read a couple of science pages here and there, get some idea of how the mechanism works, to be able to evaluate what evidence is weighty and what evidence isn't weighty. Kind of have to know something about DNA to understand DNA evidence, that kind of thing. How it's processed, and what it is chemically. And people don't want to do that work. So that's a huge limitation. Is that to break them of their delusions, you have to explain to them physics. It's like somebody can believe in Santa Claus as long as you can have preposterous notions of reality, like faster than speed of light travel in a supersonic sleigh or something. If you can believe in that crap, then you can make Santa Claus work. But if you understand reality, you'll recognize that, oh, that's silly right on the face of it. It's nonsense. Statistically and practically, it makes absolutely no sense. It would take Santa Claus many years to deliver all the gifts in not just one day. It's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense, right? Complete and utter nonsense. But yeah, they're just not going to do the work required to have enough cognitive ability to be able to tell crap from the good stuff. And so they will be able to retain their crap belief systems. They'll just throw out, there's that one wacky chick just keeps using that hologram word. She hears a Stanford physicist say it, Now all of a sudden she uses it it's every fourth word in every sentence. It's the word hologram. You know, like all of a sudden now this is the mystery of life. For a while there, I remember it was fractals. Everybody was saying fractal all over the place. You know, fractal this, fractal that, fractal, fractal. You know, that's the secret to the universe. It's all fractal, fractal. It's just pathetic. What a misguided and ill-informed and unprepared, unstudied brain can do. It will take you astray, no doubt. It will lead you to all kinds of silly places. You know, if you don't have the restrictions and confinements of some recognition of logic. Just simple stuff too is missing for people. They don't even understand how, you know, the witness testimony of 2,000-year-old stories has absolutely no value. Just probabilistically, there's no story that could survive 2,000 years of refinement or hundreds of years of refinement without turning into absolute nonsense. And yet these people are gullible enough, you know, to think their word of God has some hope. And even though it is on its face such silly mush that nothing called a God could possibly utter it. It's not even high-grade human gibberish, let alone a low-grade God's gibberish. So anyway, dilemma. Yep. Yeah, work in the game. There is a lot of work, unfortunately. So, I guess that's about it. Very wet. It's still raining a little. And such. Glad to get into some real weather here. Very sick of this nothing. Ew, people. Gross. Anyway, till later. Till later.